Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Surprise Thursday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superman from Superman the Movie 1978. Let's get into it! Let's start things off with a look at the packaging. And here on the top, well, the top flappy piece, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys and the squishy Spawn face there. And then on the top here, nothing really except for a couple of pieces of that round tape. Window on the roof to let some light in from the top down, and a chrome border. Now that chrome border continues down the window, and on the front here we have a nice big window showcasing the figure and accessories. And then again we have this chromey McFarlane Collector Edition DC Multiverse Superman. And then the window, of course, does continue around to the side. It does say 12 and up, and you can see that chromey border going around, and it even comes around this side. A nice big piece of it right here says Superman DC Multiverse at the top, and then 25 here at the bottom, so I'm assuming he's number 25. Now on the bottom flap, DC print, WB print, small fine, legalese print, made in China print, some symbols I'm not going to learn, and a barcode, and DC McFarlane Collector Edition 7-inch number 25 Superman Movie 1978. And maybe this is the assortment number, I'm not sure. On this side, we have DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector Edition Superman the Movie 1978, number 25, and McFarlane Toys down there. And then finally on the back, McFarlane Toys Squishy Spawn Face, Superman the Movie 1978, and a great and fabulous shot of the wonderful Christopher Reeves playing Superman. This will always be my Superman. It's the one I grew up with, even through Superman 3 and Superman 4. This is still my Superman. So here we have, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag McFarlane Toys. McFarlane Toys Squishy Spawn Face. There's the address, made in China. And again, the fabulous Christopher Reeves. Christopher Reeve. And that, my friends, does it for a look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And something that we don't get very often with McFarlane's DC Multiverse line is we have alternate hands and an alternate head. So let's start taking a look at these. You get two of these kind of graspy hands. They're not really C-grips all the way, but maybe, you know, he can hold like a pipe, or, you know, you get a rubber pipe or something for him to bend. He can hold it in each of these hands. Nice molded details in there. You can see his fingernails and his knuckles, and molded in this flesh tone plastic. And again, there are two of those, a left and a right. Then he has two flight hands or karate chop hands, whichever you prefer. And again, nice molded details, all molded in this flesh tone plastic. And nice molded details again, a left and a right. So he's got some veins going on there. Then we get a set of hands that they're not the same. So these are almost like those grip hands, but these have splayed out, you know, the fingers are splayed out a little bit. So there's that. Again, nice molded details. And made in this flesh tone plastic. This hand I like to call the waving hand because that's his waving hand. And again, all this I said holds true with these. Now these last two. This one looks like this clear plastic crystal piece is inserted into the hand. So this is new. I haven't seen this before. And it's very nice looking. A little easy on the details on that side, I guess. And then, you know, it looks kind of weird on that side too. So, but an interesting and cool piece nonetheless. And last but not least, we have his pointing finger, so he can point this and tell Lex Luthor what a diseased maniac that he is. And everything I said about the previous hands holds true to that. Now last up is the alternate head or alternate portrait. And this looks to me more like in Superman 3 when Superman went bad, which they're doing a version of this figure. They're repainting it up like that one. But also maybe where in Superman 2 he renounced his powers. But for me, this one doesn't really go with Superman the movie. And that's just me. But nice molded details. And the likeness to Christopher Reeve just kind of depends on the angle. At some angles it looks more like him than others, at least to me. You can see he's got some nice paint apps there for the eyes and eyebrows, and maybe a little bit going on the face, but not that I could really tell. Maybe like some of this 2 o'clock shadow going on there. So, but very nice looking piece. And then here we have your standard McFarlane card, except for it says Collector's Edition here on it, of Christopher Reeve as Superman standing in front of an American flag for some promo shots. And look at those bright blues and reds and yellows. Very, very cool. Superman the movie, 1978. And we've got a close-up of Christopher Reeve there. Data file, and if you want to read all that, you can pause it right here and do that. And then DC Multiverse and some legalese print on there. And then the last accessory, standard McFarlane DC Multiverse flight stand. It's clear. It does have the DC on there, and I don't know how that's printed on there because I can't feel on either side. So you can use this as a foot stand. You know, you've got a peg right here, or the flight part, and this part moves up and down, and this clamp, you know, it opens up and closes back. So nothing really new going on there. Now let's take a look at the figure himself. And again, with this head, it's much more Christopher Reeve looking to me than the other one. But again, it just depends on the angle in which you look at. But it's enough that you can tell this is supposed to be Christopher Reeve as Superman. And so I do think that it does look very nice. And again, maybe we've got some like 2 o'clock shadow going on there. And then look at the blue of those eyes. And then eyebrows and that spit curl going on there. Very, very Superman. And very, very Christopher Reeve Superman. And that holds true for the suit. The colors of it, I think, are very accurate. And they stand out really well. As far as the sculpt goes, you know, it's not... The musculature isn't super defined, which holds true to the source material. And I'm glad they did that rather than just using some other Superman body. I don't. Maybe they're reusing something else here that just kind of went with that. But I think that it's, you know, fairly accurate to use something that doesn't have super defined musculature on it for Christopher Reeve as Superman. We've got the, you know, red and yellow going on here. It's probably molded in red and then the yellow paint for this crotch overlay. And then again, most of this is probably molded in the correct colors. The S, I think, looks really good, the S shield. So really, really cool. And we get down to the boots, and they've even molded in the wrinkles to the boots. And if you've watched Superman the movie and Superman 2, 3, and 4 even as much as I have, you know, the boots did tend to, you know, they sagged just a little bit, creating these wrinkles. But that's so, I'm glad that they included that in the mold. I think it adds to it. And then on the back, really nothing much going on, but it's Superman, so there's really not much to go on, except for the cape, which is a soft goods cape. It is wired for posability, and I really like that. I just wish, like, the inside material that they used for this, you see how it's kind of like sports shorts, breathable type material. I wish that it really would have matched up more with this, and even given that, maybe even a slightly silkier fabric than what they use, just to match up to the source material a little better. But it's soft goods and it's wired, so, you know, I will give that praise because it is due here. Let's talk about his articulation. He looks up that high, and then the head is on a dumbbell in there, so, and the neck is a piece, same piece with the torso, or maybe it's glued in there, but it's not a moving piece. He can look down that far. He's got a slight bit of chicken neck. He's got some waggle. He can do the full exorcist, even though he's Superman. 360 degrees worth of rotation at the shoulder, and he can raise his arm up approximately 90 degrees, and you can see, if you know McFarlane, you know how these things are put together. There's this cup here, and then the shoulder, you know, the arm peg is pinned through that into the torso. So cut here at the upper bicep, 360 degrees worth of rotation there. Double hinge pinned elbow, but he gives you all of the bend. And then at the wrist, 360 degrees of rotation. This one is set to up and down, but it is on a ball hinge here, so it can rotate so you can put it in and out, or basically any angle that you really want to. So he's got a cut here where the chest and the abdomen meet, and that gives him plenty of hula going on here. And I want to say, yeah, it's on a ball joint here as well, so he leans to the sides like that. In conjunction, those hinges allow him to lean back that far and crunch forward that far, but you can see it kind of deforms this overlay here. Now, rotation, it probably will rotate all the way around here at this cut, but I don't really think that it's meant to, but there you go. I did it anyway. And then down here at the waist, get another 360 degree rotation there. And just kind of make sure that you're trying to keep it all lined up properly. Now at the hips, there's no pull down hinge, but he gives you maybe even the full splits plus. So at least the full splits, maybe a plus. And you can see how the overlay kind of, so if you pose them like that, you do have to get stuff back in place. You don't want to leave it bent up, because then you might have some issues. But it's on a, you know, it's, well, there you go. That's how it's put together. So this hinge piece is inserted into the leg, and it does give you a little bit of movement there for the thigh, but there's no thigh cut or anything like that. Only one McFarlane Multiverse figure has a thigh swivel, and that's the Dark Knight Returns Batman. So he can ride a horse. So double hinge pin knee, and it will give you that much bend. And then at the ankle, it's on the same hinge, ball hinge like the wrist, so it can be maneuvered into several positions. But it gives you tilt down that far, tilt up that far, and it does have a forward-facing pin for rocker in it as well. Now he does have toe tilt, although there's not much of it, so you get that much toe tilt. And that, my friends, is a look at Superman and his accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector's Edition Superman from Superman the Movie with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Classic TV Series Batman. On the back line there, the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Superman. And the Medicom Mafex Hush Superman. For our last set of comparisons, here we have the McFarlane Toys McFarlane's Collector's Edition Superman the Movie Superman, with from the Marvel Legends series making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee from G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander from Star Wars The Black series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and for a 7-inch scale comparison from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector's Edition Superman from Superman the Movie, I have to say I really enjoyed this figure a lot more than I thought I would. I missed the initial pre-orders on it, and then when looking at the price of it, I balked and then missed out again. And finally I ran across it at a brick and mortar GameStop. And I still balked at the price a little bit, but I had one of my monthly $5 coupons, so I used that, and that helped. And I'm really glad that I did. And I will say there are some issues with this figure. The number one being that the likeness to Christopher Reeve is not 100% there. It's close. And at some angles it looks just like him, and at others you're like, who the heck is that playing Superman? So there is that. And as much as I complain about soft goods wired capes not being on figures, and the Todd Father has started putting them on his DC Multiverse figures, I hate to complain about it, but on this particular figure, I would have kind of liked a cape with some pleats in it to mimic the way that his cape moved and looked in the movies. And the wire in it does help, but some pre-made pleats in it probably would have just finished it off and made that cape a perfect piece for this figure, except for the inside fabric doesn't match the outside fabric, but that's a nitpick. But again, as far as this goes, I had a lot more fun with this figure than I thought I would, taking pictures for the title card, and it's just a really, really fun figure, especially if you're a fan of Christopher Reeve as Superman, as I am. He was my Superman growing up, and I know a lot of you who are watching this probably, you know, are the same, because we grew up at the same time. Now, there may be some newer viewers, or younger viewers, rather, but according to my YouTube statistics, that's not the case. So, if you're watching this, most likely you grew up watching, you know, those Christopher Reeve Superman movies over and over, and you know, he's Superman. To me, he's still Superman. And I would have liked to have seen Henry Cavill actually get to play Superman, because I don't think the movies that he was in, that he was playing that character, it was actually that character. It didn't feel like Superman to me. But that's, you know, that's beside the point. That's a whole different video. But for the most part, I like the sculpt of this, how it's, you know, it's not comic book superhero defined. It is realistically defined if you look at pictures of Christopher Reeve in his Superman suit. You know, the musculature of this does match up with that a good bit. Now, the torso cut, it does kind of interfere with that aesthetic a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. That's how McFarlane DC Multiverse figures are made. The colors on this are all, to me, they're all correct. I like the colors of it. I think they work really well. They're bright. And, you know, this whole thing just, it screams Superman to me. The only thing that I think might be, again, this is kind of a nitpick, is at the end of the arms, the cuffs. And I'm not really complaining about the cuffs. The cuffs are fine. But it's the fact that the ball joint is also blue. I think they probably should have used a flesh tone for the ball joints at the wrists. And maybe that would have looked a little bit better. But it really looks like, you know, the sleeves should stop at the cuffs, but they don't. And it's a little weird. So, as far as the accessories go, you know, we have the standard stuff, the collector card, the flight stand for flying, you know, guys. But this one being a collector's edition, it came with, you know, several more sets of hands, some of which were new. And then, of course, the alternate head sculpt, which to me should have been smiley face Superman from, you know, like the very end when he's flying through space and looks over at us in the camera. I think that would have been a more appropriate piece for this figure, but I know they're also looking at, I think they've already announced it, as a matter of fact, the bad Superman from Superman 3, and that alternate head sculpt really works much better for that. It could also work for the part where, you know, in Superman 2 he gives up his powers. It could kind of work for that as well. But as it is, I enjoyed this figure. I like this figure. I'm glad that I decided to pick up this figure. And kudos to McFarlane on this one. Again, the likeness and stuff, it's not exact, but his sculptors are getting better. And I don't know, maybe I can find a 3D print out there somewhere that is a much better likeness. Or maybe even the smiley head. That would be cool. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I'm now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time. Up, up, and away!